My name is Rachel, and this story begins with a fight. Why the hell are you even here? My mother snapped, her voice echoing through the front porch like a gunshot. You think just because she's dead, you get to show up and act like some grieving granddaughter now? I froze, one foot on the wooden steps of the old house, my hand still clinging to the gate that had been padlocked for most of my life. I wasn't expecting flowers or a welcome hug, but I also didn't expect her to meet me at the door like a guard dog, blocking my path, eyes filled with fury, guarding a memory I had never been allowed to make. I just want to see her room, I said quietly, my voice trembling. I have the right. You have nothing, she barked. You think showing up at her funeral gives you some right to her life? You didn't know her. You don't deserve to walk into that room. I stared at her. This woman, my mother, looked like she hadn't cried once. Her mascara was flawless. Her lips perfectly lined. The black dress was more like a performance than mourning. But behind her polished look was something darker. Fear, maybe. Or guilt. And suddenly, I didn't care how uncomfortable it made her. You kept her from me, I hissed, stepping closer. You erased her like she was a mistake. My grandmother. You never even let me meet her. And now she's gone. You don't get to tell me where I can stand anymore. She slapped me. Hard. It wasn't even hesitation. Just one clean strike across the face. I staggered back a step. I tasted blood, maybe from my lip or from the rage that filled my mouth. She stood there, breathing heavy, chest rising and falling like she was waiting for me to swing back. But I didn't. I stared her dead in the eyes and said the one thing I knew would cut deeper than a slap ever could. She left me a letter. That shut her up. Her whole face shifted. Her jaw twitched. Her hands curled into fists. The lie she lived behind cracked, just a little. Bullshit, she whispered. She left me a letter, I repeated, louder this time. And I'm going to read it in her house. In her room. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. She stepped aside. Not because she wanted to. Because I had said the one thing that scared her the most, that maybe, even after death, Grandma had a voice. A voice she didn't control. I walked past her, my heart pounding in my ears, pushing open the creaky door I'd only seen in faded photographs. The smell hit me first, lavender, old wood, and something else, something like silence that had lasted too long. The house was still. Too still. As if it had been waiting for someone to finally come home. I didn't even know what I was looking for. But I had the letter in my bag, sealed in yellow paper, barely holding together. I'd gotten it from the funeral director. She'd left it in her will, specifically for me. Not my mom. Not anyone else. To Rachel. For when I'm gone. I hadn't opened it yet. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was scared of what it might reveal. Because here's the truth, I'd grown up thinking my grandmother didn't want me. That she had vanished. Moved far away. That she was too cold, too distant, too old school to be in my life. That was the lie my mother told me. But yesterday, at the funeral, I learned something else. My grandma lived just 20 minutes away. She never moved. She'd sent cards. Every birthday. Every Christmas. All returned to sender. She'd sent gifts. Toys I never received. She'd stood outside my school once. I didn't even know it. I was 6. She had come to see me from a distance. She never stopped trying. My mother stopped her. And now that she was gone, the rage inside me was bigger than grief. Because I had been robbed. Robbed of time. Robbed of memories. Robbed of love that had been right there, just down the highway, for my entire life. I walked through the hallway slowly, every photo on the wall like a ghost whispering, "She waited for you." There were pictures of me. Baby pictures. School portraits. Even my prom photo. I felt my knees go weak. I grabbed the wall to steady myself. She had watched my life from afar. She had loved me in silence. She had built a shrine of a granddaughter she was never allowed to hold. And my mother had lied about everything. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. She was standing there again, my mother. Her arms crossed now. Eyes glassy, but no tears falling. You had no right, I said, voice cracking. No right to keep her from me. She hurt me, she said coldly. You don't understand what she did. No. You don't understand what you did to me. She stepped forward, suddenly more defensive. She was manipulative. Judgmental. She never approved of my life, my marriage, how I raised you. She wanted control over everything. And so you punished me? She flinched like I'd stabbed her. You took the one person who could have loved me unconditionally. And you buried her while she was still alive. You made me believe she didn't care. That she didn't want me. She didn't. Stop lying. I yelled so loud, the picture frames on the wall trembled. And for the first time in my life, my mother had nothing to say. Silence. Heavy. Awkward. Ugly. I turned away, pulled the letter from my bag, and walked into the bedroom. The door creaked shut behind me. And as I unfolded the brittle paper with shaking hands, one line stared back at me, scrawled in my grandmother's delicate handwriting. If you're reading this, then I'm finally free to tell you everything. And that was when the real story began. I sat on the edge of her bed, the paper shaking in my hands as I unfolded it. The room was small, neat, untouched, and full of quiet heartbreak. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air. There was a photo of me on the nightstand. I looked about 7 in it. Missing front teeth. Awkward bangs. And a smile that had no idea someone across town had been loving me in silence. The letter began gently. My dearest Rachel. If you're reading this, then I am finally free to tell you everything your mother never let me say. I didn't leave you. I didn't abandon you. I never stopped loving you, not for one single second. My throat tightened. Your mother and we were never close after she turned 18. I raised her alone, and I made mistakes. I was strict. I had rules. I had expectations I thought were love, but she saw them as control. I can't blame her for how she felt, but I never imagined she would take it out on you. You were my second chance. My light. When you were born, I cried. I cried because I thought, maybe now, maybe this time, I could make things right. But I was wrong. She shut the door before I could ever knock. The tears came before I could stop them. I wiped them away quickly, but they kept falling. Not gentle tears. Angry ones. Bitter ones. Tears that tasted like years lost. I sent gifts. I sent cards. I waited outside your preschool once, just to see you laugh. But every time I tried to reach you, your mother pushed me further out. She told me if I kept showing up, she'd tell you I was dangerous. That I was unstable. She said if I loved you, I'd leave you alone, for your own good. So I did. I disappeared for you. But not a day went by that I didn't write you a letter, pray for you, and keep your picture by my bed. I looked around the room. Suddenly it made sense, the scrapbooks, the small clothes folded in drawers, the box labeled Rachel beneath the nightstand. She had built a world of me, in private. And carried it until the day she died. You'll hear a lot of things about me now. Your mother will tell you I was cold. That I judged her life. And maybe I did. But it wasn't because I didn't love her. It was because I was scared she'd pass her pain on to you, and now, I see I was too late. If you're reading this, Rachel, you are old enough to choose who you believe. And I pray you choose your own eyes. Your own heart. I stopped there, pressing the paper to my chest. Because she was right. I had lived an entire life based on someone else's version of the truth. My mother painted her mother as the villain, and I never questioned it. I accepted it as fact. Because I thought love from one woman meant choosing her side against the other. But now I knew, I had been robbed of both. I heard movement behind the door. I didn't care. I kept reading. If you find this letter, there's something else I want you to have. It's in the sewing box. Not because it's worth money, but because it's the last piece of me you never got to hold. And Rachel. I forgive her. Your mother. Even if she never asks. That's the difference between us. I carried her with love. She carried me with shame. And shame makes people cruel. But you? You are not cruel. I know it. I've always known it. You are made of light. Don't let her dim it. I lost it then. The sobs broke through my chest like a dam collapsing. Not just sadness, but grief that had nowhere to go. Grief for a relationship that could have been beautiful. For stories I would never hear. For recipes we'd never cook. For hugs I'd never get. I opened the sewing box on the corner shelf. Inside, folded in a small plastic bag, was a baby bonnet. Hand-stitched. Faded pink. My initials sewn into the corner with the tiniest, most careful needlework. She made this for me. And it had never even touched my head. There was also a photograph, Grandma holding a bundle in the hospital, surrounded by nurses. My baby bracelet on her wrist. She had been there when I was born. But I never knew. My hands were trembling when I heard the doorknob turn. I didn't look up when she walked in. I see you found it, my mother said quietly. I didn't respond. She stepped further in. I told you, she was manipulative. That letter, don't believe everything you read. I stood up slowly, turned, and faced her. Did you really send all her letters back? I asked, my voice raw. The cards, the toys, the gifts, all of it? She didn't answer. I took a step forward. Did you stand there while she begged to see me and tell her no? Still nothing. My voice shook with rage. You told me she abandoned me. You let me believe she didn't care. When all this time, you were the one cutting her out. She didn't love me the way I needed, my mother exploded suddenly. She never did. She loved you like she was trying to fix a mistake, not because she really. She loved me, I said. And I loved her. Even if I didn't know her. That love was mine. And you stole it. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. Because now I knew the truth. The truth my grandma wasn't allowed to say while she was living. But she made sure I'd hear it when she was gone. And now? Now, it was my turn to speak. The silence didn't last. I left my mother standing in that bedroom, surrounded by all the love she had blocked out like it meant nothing. My fingers still clutched the bonnet. The letter. Her scent was still in the air, and so was the ache of time I'd never get back. But something kept pulling at me. Something unfinished. I walked down the hall to the basement. It had always been locked when I was a kid. Off limits. Too dusty, she used to say. Too dangerous. But I remembered the times I'd tiptoe near the door just to peek through the cracks. I remembered shadows. Boxes. Once, I thought I saw a rocking chair and a pile of stuffed animals, but when I asked her, she snapped. Don't make things up, Rachel. That junk's gone. But now? I wasn't asking. I took the spare key from above the pantry, where she always kept it, thinking I never knew, and marched down. The door creaked like a confession. And what I saw made my heart pause. There was no dust. No moldy junk. Everything down there was organized, preserved. Like a shrine. Boxes labeled Rachel 0 to 3, Rachel 4 to 6, school projects, birthdays. And in the corner, that rocking chair I thought I imagined, sitting next to a chest of toys so old, they were practically vintage. My feet moved before I could think. I knelt beside the boxes and pulled the lid off the nearest one. Inside, dozens of manila envelopes. Carefully stacked. On each, "Return to sender," scrawled in red ink. My name was written in my grandmother's delicate handwriting, Rachel Marie, with our old address beneath it. She had sent them. All of them. And they had come back unopened. I ripped one open. A birthday card. Age 5. A little cartoon dog holding balloons. "Happy birthday, my love. I hope today you're laughing and surrounded by cake and stories. If I were there, I'd tell you about the time your mom turned 5 and hid her own presents just to surprise herself later. You would have laughed. I miss you so much. I love you more than anyone knows. Grandma." My chest caved in again. I opened another. A drawing of a teddy bear. A little $10 bill taped to the inside. More love. More loss. Every envelope, every package, every bit of warmth, she had returned them all. Upstairs, I heard footsteps. Then a voice. "You shouldn't be down there." I didn't stop. "Get out of there, Rachel. You're digging up things that don't matter anymore." I stood slowly, eyes burning. "Things that don't matter?" I called back. "You think this doesn't matter?" She appeared at the top of the stairs, wild-eyed. "I did what I had to do to protect you. She poisoned everything she touched. I wasn't going to let her ruin you, too." I grabbed one of the boxes and carried it up the stairs, one hand shaking with fury. "You didn't protect me. You robbed me. I saved you," she screamed. "You think she was some sweet old lady? She was cruel, Rachel. She hit me when I was a child. She made me feel like I was never enough. I lived in fear of her for years. And I swore I'd never let her do that to you." For a moment, I hesitated. That wasn't the story I'd read in the letter. "Then why not tell me?" I said. "Why not explain? Why not be honest and let me decide who to believe?" "Because you were a child," she snapped. "You would have loved her no matter what she did. And that terrified you," I whispered. "You were so scared of me loving her, that you made sure I couldn't." We stood there in the hallway, panting like we had both just run a marathon through our own shame. "I hated her," my mother finally said. "I hated how she made me feel small. I hated the way she smiled at you like she had a second chance. She didn't deserve you. I did. I sacrificed everything for you, and I wasn't going to share." There it was. The truth. She didn't keep my grandmother away because she was evil. She kept her away because she was jealous. I stepped back, suddenly exhausted. The house, once full of anger and argument, felt hollow now. Like all the air had gone out of it. Like the truth had opened too wide a wound to ignore. "You made me grieve someone I never got to know," I said, my voice low. "You made me believe I was unwanted, unloved, when all this time I was deeply, fiercely missed." My mother turned away. "It's done now." "No," I said, my voice steady. "It's not." In that moment, I decided I was done living someone else's version of my past. I would read every letter. Look through every photo. Hear every story, even if it came secondhand. My grandmother may have died before I could meet her face to face. But that didn't mean I couldn't know her now. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized. This wasn't just about a woman I never met. This was about reclaiming me. The box sat open on my lap as I sifted through its contents. Letters. Photographs. Newspaper clippings. Even cassette tapes labeled "Story for Rachel, age 7 and Christmas 1999, hope you got the doll." She had saved everything. And I'd never heard a word of it until she was gone. I couldn't stop the tears anymore. Not silent ones this time, but angry, gasping sobs. My whole childhood had been built on the lie that I was alone, when all along, someone had been whispering love through every envelope, every return to sender heartbreak. I needed people to know who she was. Not the stranger my mother painted. The real woman. The one who never gave up trying to reach me. So, I did what I hadn't done since high school. I wrote. I wrote a post. On Facebook. No filters. No edits. Just truth. My name is Rachel. I never got to know my grandmother, because my mother never let me. I was told she didn't care, that she left us, that she forgot me. But now I know that wasn't true. She sent letters. Hundreds. She sent birthday cards, drawings, even cassette tapes of bedtime stories. My mother sent them all back. I don't share this to shame her. I share it because there are people out there who loved me when I didn't know it. And that love deserves a voice. Her name was Eleanor May Richardson. If you knew her, if you remember her stories, her cooking, her kindness, tell me. I want to know her now, even if it's too late to hold her hand. I hit post. Then I stared at the screen. 10 minutes passed. Then 30. And then, the comments started coming. I remember Eleanor. She used to bring us muffins every Sunday at church. She gave me my first job when I was 16. She let me work after school at her shop, and paid me double when my dad lost his job. Eleanor used to sit on her porch and knit blankets for the shelter. She made one for my baby girl before she was born, it's still in her crib. Hundreds. Hundreds of people had known her. Loved her. Missed her. I read every comment like it was scripture. I started writing down names, dates, moments. I built a timeline. I mapped out a woman I had only ever dreamed about, and realized she wasn't a dream at all. She had lived. And now, I wanted the world to see her. So I printed the pictures. I framed them. I scanned every letter, every sketch. I contacted the town library. And when they said yes, I put it all together in a single, silent exhibit called The Letters She Never Read. The grand opening was quiet, just a few folding chairs, some cookies, soft music. I wasn't expecting more than a dozen people. But by the time I looked up from setting the last frame, there were lines. People standing. Waiting. Crying. Some brought flowers. Others brought letters they had received from her. Stories I'd never heard. A woman who sent thank you notes to cashiers, knitted scarves for bus drivers, and wrote to prisoners because everyone deserves a friend. And at the very end of the room, a large print of her favorite photo. The only one I had ever seen. She was smiling at something outside the frame. Her eyes crinkled like she was laughing. There was joy on her face. Real joy. And I stood there, face to face with the woman I'd never been allowed to meet, and whispered, I know you now. I see you. I was still holding her picture in my hands when I heard a voice behind me. She would have loved this. I turned. It was my aunt, my mother's older sister. The one who moved states away and never looked back. She wrote to me too, she said softly. I knew Mom was still trying. But I didn't know your mother had buried it all. She didn't just bury it, I said. She burned the bridge. We stood in silence for a moment. Then she said, so rebuild it. In your own way. And I realized, that's exactly what I'd done. That night, I came home to find my mother sitting on the porch. She didn't say anything at first. Then finally, you really did it. You turned her into a saint. I sat beside her. She didn't have to be perfect, I replied. She just had to be real. And you didn't let her be. My mother looked tired. Not angry anymore. Just worn down by years of holding secrets that weighed too much. I was scared, she said quietly. She scared me when I was little. And I held on to that fear so tight, I couldn't see what she was trying to do when you were born. You could have let go, I said. I know, she whispered. For once, she didn't defend herself. She didn't deny it. She just sat there, with regret soaking through every wrinkle on her face. You know she died asking for you? I added gently. She wrote it in her last letter. I don't deserve that. No, I said. But I did. And that's the thing about love. You can block it. You can bury it. You can pretend it doesn't exist. But if it's real, it survives anyway. The library exhibit ran for 2 weeks. During that time, I learned more about my grandmother than I had in my entire life. Not just facts, but her heart. People came every day to share something new. An old voice message. A note she'd scribbled in a book. A scarf with her initials stitched in the corner. Then came the box. The head librarian found it in the archives, misfiled under unclaimed personal effects. It was heavy. Tied with a ribbon so old, it crumbled in my fingers. Inside were more letters, but one sat alone at the very bottom. Thick paper. Sealed. The envelope said. To be opened only by Rachel. When she is ready. I just stared at it. I didn't open it that day. Or the next. I carried it in my bag, feeling it like a heartbeat. Part of me was scared that it would hurt too much. That it would make me angry all over again. But one night, I sat on the edge of my bed, held the envelope to my chest, and I finally opened it. Her handwriting was shaky. The ink smudged like she'd cried while writing it. My darling Rachel. If you're reading this, it means something changed. Maybe your heart softened. Maybe the truth found its way to you, the way I always prayed it would. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped trying. Every birthday, every Christmas, every tiny moment I imagined in your life. I was there, even if you couldn't see me. I don't blame your mother. I know what I did hurt her. I know I wasn't always strong when she needed me. But with you, I tried to be different. I tried to be better. I only wish I could have proven it in time. But love doesn't need time. It just needs a seed. A story. A memory. And I hope this letter is enough to remind you, you come from someone who never gave up on you. You are more than the pain you were born into. You are more than what was kept from you. You are mine. And I am proud of you. With all the love I never got to give you in person. Grandma Eleanor. I read it again. And again. And every time, it broke me a little more, and rebuilt me even stronger. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel unwanted. I didn't feel like a second thought. I didn't feel like some inconvenient mistake in someone else's story. I felt chosen. Even if I hadn't known it then. I was loved. Loudly. Desperately. Unconditionally. It's been 3 years since then. I visit her grave once a month. I bring a single sunflower, her favorite. I tell her what's new in my life. The exhibit became a small foundation. We help reconnect estranged families. We call it Letters Unread. And sometimes, when I sit there in silence, I swear I feel a breeze pass by, just soft enough to brush my hair. I like to believe it's her. She may be gone. But now, finally, I carry her forward. Because she didn't just leave letters. She left a legacy. And I'm living it.